Probably the most important part of algebra is learning how to problem solve. And in this lesson, we're using the skills of translating equations and solving equations, and we're applying them to real-world scenarios that we need to solve different type of problems. Therefore, we call this applications because we're applying these skills to problem solving. Don't forget our 4 steps. Our 4 steps are to define all variables in the problem, translate into an equation, solve and equate the equation, and then state the solution. And notice the very first thing there under step 1, I have drawing a picture, because a picture can often help us visualize what we're trying to do with numbers and variables. Let's look at one type of word problem. The perimeter of a sheet of paper is 39 inches. The width is 2.5 inches less than the length. Find the width and the length. Let's begin by drawing a picture of our sheet of paper and label any information we know about it. We know that the perimeter of this sheet of paper is 39 inches from this part right there. And I know something about its length and its width. It says that the width is 2.5 inches less than the length. Now I don't know what the length is, and I'm trying to figure that out. So I'm going to label these sides here, my length, as x, because that's what I don't know. So x in this problem stands for my length. And the units that we're using here are inches. The other side is my width, and I know that my width is 2.5 inches less than the length. So I'm going to label that as x minus 2.5. And I'll define that part, that variable as well. X minus 2.5 stands for my width, which is also in the unit of inches. Now I want to figure out, step 2, how I can translate this information into an equation. Now, if we think about a formula, the formula for the perimeter of a rectangle is P equals, the perimeter equals, twice the length plus twice the width. Because this perimeter means the distance around all the outsides. So you would need to add this side, plus this side, plus this side, plus this side, which is essentially twice the length plus twice the width. Now in this problem, I know some information. I know that my P in this problem is 39. I'll carry down my equal sign. I know that my length is going to just be the variable x. That's the part I don't know. I'll plug that in. And I know that my w in this problem is x minus 2.5. Now I've plugged in all the relevant information for the problem, and I've written out an equation. Now I want to try to solve it. Let's begin by doing our several steps here. I'll distribute my 2 to get 2x minus 5. I'll combine like terms. 2x plus 2x is 4x. Add 5. 44 equals 4x. Therefore, x equals 11. And you can see at this point in the problem, I've done 3 steps. Step 1, I defined my variable. Step 2, I've written out my equation. Step 3, I've solved the equation. But step 4, I have to finally state the answer using units and labels. So what's it want to know? It wants to know the width and the length. So I need to clearly state that. The length is 11 inches. And I can see that by using this part right there. X, which is 11, equals the length. And the width is, to determine this part, I look at what else I label at the start. The width of my piece of paper is 11 minus 2.5, which is 8.5 inches. Now I've done my fourth and final step, which is clearly stated my solution. Let's try this process one more time. Again, we're talking about perimeters. The perimeter of an NBA basketball court is 288 feet. I'll draw another picture of my basketball court, labeling the perimeter as 288. In this problem, I know that the length is 44 feet longer than the width. So the length is 44 longer than the width. I don't know what the width is, so I'll call that x. But I know that the length is 44 longer than that. And this picture helps me visualize what I'm going to do in this problem. So let's begin by, now that we've drawn our picture, defining our variables. X stands for our width, and x plus 44, that equals our length in this problem. And our units for both of these are feet in this case. Now that I've defined our variables, let's see if we can translate this information into an equation. Because once we have an equation, we're able to solve it. Again, since we're dealing with perimeter of a rectangle, we can use the perimeter formula of a rectangle. P equals 2L plus 2W, and then plug in the information that we have. We know that our perimeter is 288. Our length is x plus 44. And our width, W, we're calling x. Now that I've got an equation, I can solve my equation. Distribute my 2. Combine like terms. And finally, after I solve it, I find that x equals 50. But if I look at my steps, I haven't done the final part, which is I haven't stated what the dimensions of the court are. I've done step 1, defining my variables. Step 2, which is writing my equation. Step 3, I've solved my equation. Now I need to do step 4. Clearly state my solution. The width of the court is, and here I'll use this part, the width equals x, which is 50, so 50 feet, and the length is, and here I'll use this part of my defined variables, x plus 44 is 94, so my length is 94 feet. Now I've answered the problem.